What's up, everyone? I hope you're well. Thank you all very much for joining me. Let me just rejig the mic a little bit so that way get better sound for it. All right, awesome. There we go. Thank you all for joining me. Awesome to have you all here with me today. I'm Max Pez. For those of you who may not know, I'm a level designer, and on these streams I kind of break down my personal levels that I go through, kind of discussing my thought process and kind of the overall design that goes in my mind. If the music is too loud, let me know. I'll just turn it down a little bit now. But if anything is like that's a bit too much, just let me know, team. And essentially, it's just about you guys getting a chance to ask questions. I get to build stuff with all of you, and you can kind of see my design process as I go through, and this kind of element for it. So I hope you do enjoy this. So for those of you who've probably seen this, this is a continuation on from what we did last time with my current kind of warehouse stealth level that's going to be used for the XYZ school over in Russia. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me on the stream today. So yeah, this is a really cool little level. Some things have changed, so I think we're going to start there first in terms of breaking things down before we discuss what's new. So I'm going to just show you roughly how the level used to look, and then we can start talking about the changes that have gone on into this one. So let's do this. All right. So let's head over to, I just want to grab something quickly just to show you all. Okay. It is fantastic. It's here. Okay, so let's just take a look at this one for us right now. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get everything on front. So, buddy, thank you for joining us on the stream. So this is live on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you want to tell your friends, the more the merrier. Honestly, the more that we have. Let's go from this one. And thank you, Oscar. Much love to Spain as well. I hope that you're all safe, no matter where you are. And this can cause some fun little distraction before we go any further. Right, okay, let's go back and take a look at some things. So, for those of you who don't know, this is a stealth level, and I was on the second section of it. Now, the first section was more used as a setup of scene narrative. We'll just quickly look through it here on this sub-generator section over here. So you and your crew have broken into the sub-generator. The reason is so you can take away power from your target, which is a warehouse, just through woodlands over here to just across this side of the road here. Now, in the second phase, this is how it used to look over here. We used to have, how do I say? We used to have a much different layout for it. And I decided to change this. Sorry guys, I need to turn down this music because it's distracting for me. I don't know how loud it is for all of you, so I apologize. Yes, anyway. Yep, so from here, what I decided to do is that you would come out and there would be three paths for you. You could go, can you see my mouse? Okay, you can see my mouse. But you'd come down, have this higher route up on this ridge over here, come down through this would be a forest in the middle section, and then make your way down through these cliffs, and eventually they'd all meet at this funnel point over here. But I kind of, after going through this a bit, I noticed like it was more an illusion of choice. The choice didn't really matter. Obviously you're going to come at a head and meet up at the same point, but I think the thing that was sad about this was the fact that the impact wasn't really there in terms of your choice, and also to where your objective is, it was just a straight line directly to it, no matter if you went through the middle, right, or left. You were always just going to go straight towards the objective. And I just thought, do you know what? This isn't working. This isn't great. I spoke to some friends as well just to get feedback, people that I trust. And I just was like, do you know, we need to improve this. So after this thought, I started to kind of go through this again and kind of think about what it is I can actually do to prove is to break up the straight line and actually to make the choices feel more impactful. That if you make a decision through here, it'll actually be a better one for it. So North, he says, hey Max, your levels are great, loving how it's evolved. Well done, my friend. Wait till you see. This is an old outdated picture. Wait till you see where we go next. Stiffmon, hi bro, glad that you are joining us yet again, mate. Appreciate you as always and every one of you that is here. Okay, so now let's talk about what was the next changes. So just take a look at this, memorize it in your head versus now this. So there's already some big changes that you can see, and let's kind of break them down a little bit more. So the path now is a lot more curved. We're not just going whoop, we're kind of blocking the player to come round. Because this way I wanted it to kind of be like a bit of a tighter area, a transition between spaces, so it wasn't just you cross the gate, you're in straight away into the woods in the next section. I kind of wanted to build that up. So we do this. Now, I just want to break this down too. I don't think I've nailed this enough. What I probably actually should do is move this a little bit further across, say here, just so there's a couple more meters so the player can come through, come around, and come through this. Now the biggest challenge for me on this one here, team, was the fact that we talked about in the first section, you will hit this button and then you'll actually be able to see the warehouse from here, and that's been such a tough one to balance with the rest of the level. Now, I'm still going through it, but it's really hard to kind of keep that balance, so I'm still experimenting, still growing with it. Now, as I said, you'll come around, this blocks the player, so we lead around here, but now we get introduced to our first guard over this direction, and he, oh, let me just get him correctly, has his little patrol route over here. Stiffmon says, will you give us feedback from the location that we do? Stiffmon, I will be giving feedback, my friend. I don't know how many levels I'll get a chance to address. We still haven't decided on how that's going to work yet. But essentially, I don't want to spoil too much, I will be doing 3 talks in regards to the XYZ school. And one of that will be a feedback session, but in terms of how many locations I get through, still figuring this out. But I'm hoping from you joining on, mate, and seeing all of this, you'll actually be able to kind of get a few steps ahead and, you know, avoid mistakes that I've made and that. But I will be doing some feedback sessions. My father has joined the chat. Sup, Dad? And from here, I want to just point this out, kind of the reason I did and added this enemy. The reason for this is because of the fact that, like, so far it's been a downbeat. Like I said, it's about building up the, no problem, my friend, it's about building up the overall mission, the narrative. So now we come through here, and I really wanted the player to kind of learn about taking out the enemy. Now, in the character controller that you will get in the XYZ school, you'll get a slightly different one to mine, but you'll get a, I believe it is what are they called now? A tranquilizer, that's the word I'm looking for. A tranquilizer gun, and I don't know, but you might be able to melee combat them. So this is kind of what I'm aiming for with this area here. So when the player arrives, we can kind of get a framing, firstly, of the character with this V here. They will then head over to this direction, head up on here. Now I moved them up here, and I really wanted them to go up here because I want the player to understand that this is a decision point for them, that this, they can get up as well and kind of see, again, a better shot of the warehouse. Maybe from here, we can only see a certain part of the warehouse, then we get a much nicer reveal. And then we talked about earlier how I had 3 paths before, now we've only got 2. And that reason is, so up here we can actually see the choice and the importance. So up here now, we can see this pipe here, and we have these kind of different mud and water running down in this direction. So this can catch the player's eye in order to drag them down over here. So that's part of why I've given them patrol. Another thing that I've done with the patrol as well is the fact that I've kept it so they never ever look in this direction. That's a really important thing here, because this is the first encounter. A lot of the times I recommend when you do a first encounter with an enemy that you actually just keep them static, so the player can see them, get an easy win, and instantly understand the area and feel empowered through it. But because of the fact that I want to give the options, such as if I was the player, I can come here, go left, around to the tree, take him out around here, or if I wanted to, come right. And just a couple of things, like for those who are joining, the purple for me is a sign that it's gameplay. We can use this as a stealth option like you see in Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Hitman, where you can take cover, crouch down low into the bushes, as well as use it as a disposable spot for the bodies. Now, some of you may remember we did a little disposable tutorial here with putting it into the dumpster. It's a similar thing to this. I don't actually have this working, but it shows the design intention. You can come around, again, take them out. And I wanted to have multiple of these around. This one to show that you can duck into it, and this one to pull them over to show that you can take and hide enemies out. Alright, we've got a few questions now, so let's just read this one through here. Edmar says, nice job, thank you mate. And he says, you work with Level Design Modular. So yes, these are all modular little pieces. I'm using a slightly different level design kit that others might be using, that you will be using if you're taking part in that course. The reason is, this is just something that I prefer to do. I've grabbed it and I've started to make my own little level design kit. If you look at my scenes, I have this gym here which just has all my level design pieces and kits ready. The kit that I am using though, the main one, is called Blockout, which is free on Unity, so if anyone wants it you can grab it. And I just have different kind of materials to help signify. So this one's green for grass, brown for kind of dirt, and then grey just keeping as the standard, a darker for the floor, a lighter one for the walls, so they contrast when you see it. So yeah, I'm using that, and I have a couple of asset packs bought from the Simple Polygon, which I only use to help just sell narrative. Again, keep the props simple because I'm not an artist, we're level designers. It just helps sell the space and the narrative for it. And I also create my tiny little level design props here that we see, and have these cover rails on it so it works with my character that we see it. So this is what I'm going to it for it. Stiffmon asks, is such detailing required inside the house at such an early stage? So you may have missed this from our last one, mate, but it depends on the studio, right? Just can anyone tell me, is the music too loud for you guys? Just let me know in the comments, please, just so I know and I can adjust in case there's a problem with levels for it. Okay. So detailing. Oh, Falcone doesn't even hear the music. I don't even know why I've got it. I find that funny that it's distracting me. Do you know what? I'm just going to turn it off, team. I'm just going to turn it off because it was nice ambience, but if you can't hear it and it's drowning me out, then clearly there's something wrong with the levels. Anyway, the detailing. So it depends on the place that you work. That's because of the fact that each place is a different style. We showed in a different example how Respawn doesn't go into as much detail as this, and Ubisoft goes in slightly more detail on Respawn, and then, oh, it sounded like Deus Ex, that was the vibe I was going for, but, and then I kind of go in a bit more detail, and the reason for this is I'm kind of combining what I've learned from working at different places, in terms of like Ubisoft, CD Projekt. And again, let me just state this is nothing to do with any companies that I've worked at. This is nothing related to them or anything like that. This is just me talking about my personal level, okay? So any other questions related to the companies, I cannot and will not answer. But yeah, in terms of detail, I've just kind of learnt a bit from both and just finding my own method. And the second reason for a bit more detail is the fact that there isn't going to be an artist who takes over this, right? There is no team working on this project. This is a personal project for me. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that I prop it enough where if anyone is to see this video, when I do a video eventually and see the breakdowns that we do now, you'll instantly understand what this is. You know, when I showed my art friend who instantly saw this, he knew it was a sub-generator area. And it's that kind of thing so that I can sell this. So you don't have to go in as much detail as this. This is just something that I have done to really, like I say, help sell the space, because I noticed when I did my previous level, the art gallery, people weren't picking up that it was an art gallery. And the reason being is because of the fact that I just tend to use these kind of blocks to begin with and mess around like that. So that's why I go into a bit more detail, because there's going to be no art pass on my level. I think it helps to sell the space and the narrative, and to me it's also just good practice to make sure that when I show people, they instantly, is it recognizable, it passes that test. Again, you don't need to go in this much detail, but I think especially for personal project, it doesn't hurt to do this. So yeah, that's why I've gone in. You don't have to. This is just something that I do for a personal project because I have time, and again, it's just me on it. So even like previously, I would have just kept these as blue blocks and these as orange blocks. As you can see, I throw a little more detail on there just because now we know what kind of space it is. That's all. So I hope that answers your question, my friend. Okay, so we've got a few more to go through. Bart Jan asks, hi there, I was wondering how you are testing this level. I see you using the editor, camera lock. Yes, I am testing it. So if you just see through here, I'm just flying through because it's easier for me to do so, right? Right, sorry guys, there's a mosquito here and I'm just trying to, didn't see me do Bruce Lee and kill it, but I got invaded by a mosquito not long ago and just made my hand look like a teenager's face. So pimply. Anyway, I'll take care of that tonight. But this is how I test it. We can see got this guy here, roughly same scale. You'll see the enemy, see we can curve around, and then see the enemy here. So we can take some cover, we get a chance to watch the patrol. We've got some nice framing no matter where it is. Frame here, frame in the center, and frame to the left. So we've always got a bit of a vision on where the enemy is. I should probably move that space a little bit further across here now that we're seeing it. So again, you can see, let's get ready to take this out. So you can see that there is a way to test. I'm just flying around, mate, just because it's easier to see the level and get a swooping vantage of it so you can see it more as I talk and block it out. But good question. You mean the first encounter at that level or an entire game? Just at this level, this here, this isn't going to build an entire game. This is me just building a level. So this is the first encounter. This here is a narrative scene where we're just talking to the team members, building up the narrative, getting more kind of slow interactions to help sell what is it the player's about to do. So moving on. Drek, hello, thank you for joining. Falcone, thank you for joining as well. Deathdis, do you know some kind of null scene with your metrics so you can easily? Yes, I do. So, and good evening, and thank you for joining. I do have this, so let me just save the scene here. Make sure that I found everything. Yep, so we were chatting then about detailed props, but I kind of keep everything you see in one space. So this is a slightly different character model. I've just switched over. The only reason being is these characters all come from a pack in Unity, which is great. But this one's really synonymous with the CGMA course, which M. Schatz and Patrick put together, which is a phenomenal course. But I decided to kind of step away. The other character that I use is roughly similar height, as well as that's the character I want to use for a Deus Ex inspired level I intend to build later. So yes, but you can see, got the architecture in terms of how things should move for me to use. Windows over here, and then what originally I start to do when I block out spaces to begin with is I use these, so my cover objects. Now this is a visual language that I've gone to work with. Blue is high cover, orange is low cover. I'll switch them out later, but this is what I would use to start off the levels with, and I've actually kind of messed around with the metrics for it as well. And you can see 3 meters should be the cover gap, because it allows players we can get to some aim, but then also roll out into cover as well. And then from there I start to build a kind of level design asset library, which I can always use later on. Tables, shelves. This here was used for my art gallery. If you haven't seen it, that's on my YouTube channel. It was a fun level I did for Blocktober, a nice combat space I'm very proud of. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is an overall fun one. And you can see again, just creating different little props for different things. I said shelves, ammo, loot, packs here, paintings, jellyfish, bags. Again, all of this makes a bit more context outside. Then we have roadblocks, a little rock, generator interactions, different generator style there. So I keep all of that in my scene here, so that one day I build it all up, test, and can use it no matter where I go with it. Okay, going through a lot of this. Where we go? So I know Hacker Metal asks, I know from software level design are borderline environment. Yes, so again, some places are slightly different in terms of what they do, but I really want to say this because I cannot stress this enough. The amount of online misinterpretation you see of what level design does is infuriating at some points. Not all the time, and no one's like mad at it. We're more kind of, and it's not just me, loads of others that I've seen, but we've seen a few people post online, oh, the level design that I've done, and it's just an art section on a street, which is cool, beautiful street, really nice. But that's not level design, that's an environment art, and it's good there. Level design is controlling the flow. Art would be me making this actually look pretty, but for me, it's understanding the flow from me first talking to him, put that body in this here so that people understand it, talk to our next guy, interact with buttons, go here, move around. I control the flow, the pacing, the direction, adding enemies, their patrols. That's all level design with it. So yeah, it's again, there's some different roles at different studios, but you should definitely be controlling the flow, the pacing, the interaction that happens as well, the kind of architecture in terms of how it is, how it moves through. Environmentalists help with the architecture very much too, but we can go from there. Okay, so Spencer then asks, hi, related to detail, when in your workflow do you start adding and sculpting terrain landscape? So it depends, like you should and can do terrain here. I just use blocks because I was just quickly putting it all together, and it's probably better if I would have used terrain, but we're here now, it's fine. It's still, we get across what it is, green as grass, but it's just something, and we can get through with it. So yeah, that's some fun for you there. So it can be at any point, it depends when your level needs it, right? If you're building a fully more kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Less strict in terms of, a more organic level, that's the word, organic. You should probably use terrain. I just, and the mosquito's back. I need to keep an eye on it. But I use this, I would recommend using it. I just quickly threw this together because it helps me with that one there. Do you include interactive items like doors and lights? So I will be getting to that pie flavor. For right now, I'm just signaling where the interactions are. Like I said, anything with purple, with this little button here, would be an interaction. I will add doors later, but for now, we're just keeping them open. I will come back and address it, because right now, the plan is to first kind of just get, if there's a closed door, I will add a closed door, but ones that a player can open, I'm going to get back to later. Because right now it's about building out the space. No gameplay really or interaction. The only reason the AI works is because I got a kit that allows me to, place it down very quickly and iterate upon it. See how on edge I am right now, team, for this mosquito. But that's all. The rest I will come back to, iterate and add, and choose which doors to open, make interactive lights and all this as well. So right now the first pass is just getting the layout done, just getting the flow of it and making sure that mission feels great there. Next question, Stiffmon. I don't speak Russian. I'm sure there's an actual better word for it than Russian if I'm wrong, because I know a few people, different languages use a similar alphabet, but I'm afraid I don't understand that point. Sorry, mate. Falcone, do you normally create a scene and place all the assets, asset library used before? Yeah, so I just showed that in my gym session. I'll have it there, or I just literally have my prefabs here, which has all of the information, all the ones I've got ready for me to just drag in and use for it. Next question. We've got a lot of them. Thank you for all asking questions, by the way. Still, I never could understand why in games the player head stick out a little from the shelter visually, the sense. Yeah, so I think it depends on, do you want it to feel tense? Sometimes they stick it on there to force you to move, because if you're completely covered, the player's just going to hunker down in one spot, right? But if it's slightly below them, then the player can use it for a little bit, realizing they're getting hit, and then move. So that's one of the reasons, because it's forcing you to move there for it. So yeah, that's one of the reasons, buddy. Tone asks, I would be bored with a game which would prepare me every level for every encounter with the enemy. Yeah, that's completely fine and understandable. But because this isn't for a game, this is just a level that's based for no game, I need to consider on how I introduce things, because of the fact there isn't a tutorial, there isn't any element like that, and introducing different elements is such an interesting design challenge and choice that we choose to, that we can get a chance to work around with it. But I understand what you're saying, but in this context there isn't a game. That's why we have it like this. Party favor, you say, oh, so you code AI interactions too. I do code a little bit. I actually want to try something slightly different. I know a little bit on C# and JavaScript, but there is a plugin that I'm using. Where is it? Called Playmaker. I intend to use it a little bit later for this one, because the fact that it's visual scripting, and that's tend to be right now what more level designers are actually using in their day-to-day job. Like you see Blueprint with Unreal, and if you haven't seen Unreal 5, how amazing was that? Phenomenal. But I'm going to be going back and adding some small elements here too. So right now, all you're seeing and all that's going to be focused on is me plotting out all the space and making sure that it runs smoothly, it's clear, and all of this elements, and I will eventually come back, because what you'll do, and this is how it'll go in work as well, block the space out, everyone plays it how they think it's intended, and here it is, son of a gun. Oh, hit it then, boys, and off it goes. Do you see that? But I can't wait to kill that thing. Mosquitoes, man, I really don't like them. Anyway, moving past that. So yeah, you'll block out a space. They will then, your leads or directors will then review your level, and they will play it like how intended. As I said, interact 1, interact 2, do, final 1, and then play through there. So they kind of see how the space feels, understand it better, and then once they think the space works good, feels good, that's when you'll be given the okay clearance to start scripting it from there. So that's roughly how it goes. Now, before we do actually continue on this one, I do want to say, for those who want to improve on their level design, now would be a great chance to join the Patreon. patreon.com/level design lobby. Patreon is a great place to help support what I do in terms of the podcast, as well as doing these streams. But not only that, you get some cool perks as well. We just have filled out the entire role of the mentorship. However, there's still other great things, such as we have the bi-weekly level design challenges, where I set you small level design you can create to build up your portfolio and improve your level design. The level design weekends. We've also got a great community on Discord. All of that, you can just join for $1 a month. If you want more, there's more options for it all there. So yeah, if you want that, please come up through. Okay, so let's kind of push on forward here, team. Right. So I mentioned last time with, for example, how it all just felt straight, right? That was roughly how I was feeling. There's a term called reward and denial in terms of how you can demonstrate your elements of your level. And what I mean by that is it's the term where, sorry, I need this open just so we can see it just in case. The term where you see the reward, like for us, for example, we're going to see our objective here, but then we are denied when trying to get to it because there's a giant fall off. I'm going to bring that in actually. There's a giant fall off, so that's the denial. So nothing is simple, so now we have to go down or go around in different ways. That's reward and denial. I decided to add that and use that, and part of the reason why it makes it a more exciting level too for it. So Spencer asks, have any tips or resources for level design? None, or do I have any? Yes, I mean, non-linear and open world are very different, just for the record, Spence, mate, and I'm sure you already knew that, buddy. Is there anything in particular you're looking for in tips, or do you just want general tips that we can list off? So, and then I'll get back to you on that one, mate. Toki asks, is there any reason why you're using an older version of Unity? Yeah, this is just the one that I have installed at the time, and I built a level already in this, so I didn't, you know when you can upload and it just breaks everything? That's kind of what previously happened, so I just stuck with it. I'm not losing any feature. Well, I mean, there's features from Unity I'm missing out on, but it doesn't stop what I'm doing and need it for, which is building a level. I don't need anything fancy to do this. I've got the kit pieces, I've got my prefabs, I can just get in and smash it. That's the only reason, buddy. No kind of like, this is the secret Unity version, which allows you to make great levels. Nothing like that. So yeah, that's what we're all going with. Derek asks, I see this done in the third person aspect. Would there be a difference in how you design? Yes, there would. First person and third person are very different, and I've definitely learned that. So what would be the big differences? The metrics would change massively, right? So let's just have a quick look at this, just for a big example. Is that, you son of a gun. You're going to see that a lot. But if we look at this door here, right? Do you see how we're not even close to hitting our heads? Well, if you're about 6 foot in reality, which is the same scale as this guy, you're closer to the roof of the door frame. But the reason is because, see here, see how the camera needs to come through? So it's made a little bit bigger, so there's no clipping issues when we come through there for the camera, right? And also, the camera's further back, so we see a lot more going on. I can see around corners. In first person, you cannot see around corners. So one of the biggest changes to level design in first person is how you slowly introduce information. So in third person, whereas I, for example, can come here and I can essentially see all of this, right? I can see nearly all around me. If there's enemies, I can be like, pa, pa, pa. In first person, if I come around here, I could only see an enemy here, and then I'd have to turn to see an enemy here, and then I'd have to turn to see an enemy here. So how you would release that information would have to be a little bit more different. You'd have to slowly introduce sections rather than just having a big open space, which is a lot more forgiving in third person for it as well. So that's kind of say some of the biggest differences between third and first person, mate. Okay, Spencer's now come back. And so something like how to set up level flow and space in multiple directions. Man, I haven't played Destiny in a long time, so I'm unsure what I imagine patrol zone is just where enemies come by. So yes, one of the things that you can do, and should always do with open world, is make sure that you have a 360 approach, which is just referring to that you can enter from any angle. So we talk about decision points, which if we just use it as an example, I'm getting paranoid about this fucking mosquito team. My decision point is this, right? So I know I can see this, I can see him here. But if we have, say if we can come in at this angle too, I would need some cover around here for me to assess the situation. And the same was if I'd come through here, maybe it's this tree, so we can see it from here. So there should always be a decision point at every kind of entry point, right? And then it should kind of work where you get a lot of the information. You don't have to get the same information, but like if I never see the enemy from one of these angle points, that's bad design. I need to be able to make sure that I can see the enemy or the first enemy to gather the information with it. I think also with non-linear, you want to make sure that the choices have impact. It was part of the reason we talked about this, right? Is that I didn't want it to just feel like they were an illusion of choice, that the choice was actually able to have a big impact on the way that the player moved through the space. So you want to make sure that the choices matter in those situations. So there's a couple of tips for you there. Cool. Derek goes, I see this is done. Oh no, we've talked to Spore, we spoke about that one. Stefan, what is the best way to build a 150 by 150 location? I don't really know what to say with that one, Stefan, because I don't know the design. Like, you need to know more about the design, do your research, and do you get your reference gathering. There is no quick answer to solve that one with it, but yeah, just go through all the steps that we've spoken about, right? This is like the 4th or 5th stream of this level, so follow all the steps, right? Follow it as in do your research, get your metrics right, reference gathering, and then this can help do iteration, all of this. And I think this is one of the things why I wanted to show this point here, because I was already partway through this blockout, right? I was already on my way with this, and then realized it didn't work. And so you shouldn't be afraid to make changes and iterate, right? It's important to know it's okay to change, and that's one of the best things that you can do, is adapt and change. Now, the next thing, let's talk about how we talk about reward and denial. I'm going to just fill this with forest area, but like what we can talk about is another thing that we talked about in the last stream is verticality, right? I'm still breaking it off. It's not all flat. Even here's better, not all flat. This is raised by a meter. You got different step ups and step downs in this section, making sure that we're playing around with it. Same with here. We can go up here, and the plan is on this route we go down this kind of waterfall step, come down and around. See a different enemy, again, small area, can take him out, and then we go into a pipeline, right? So already we've changed the verticality as well as changed the area completely. So we've gone from a lush forest to kind of a dangerous, steep climb on a waterfall, and now to a much more enclosed pipeline sewer, where we come round, come through, and then what I've got is a guard here patrolling up and down here, and then we can use a shortcut if we want to take him out or sneak past him. Now what I'll actually do, I've just seen a flaw here, team, is then we can use this ladder this will pop up on a manhole cover. Whoa, I've gone the wrong way. A manhole cover in the sidewalk here will be right in front of the warehouse. But that's such a different feeling towards we're going to go on this high ridge, similar to this here, and then make our way along the ridge down into the forest again and come out around here. Okay, so one of the mistakes that I've made, right, is say if we've got the guard patrolling back and forth here, say if we choose not to kill him. If I've passed him, once I've passed him, I want to feel like he's no longer a threat, right? That once my back's turned, I don't need to worry about them. So that's something you have to think about. So what I'll probably have is a door that the player has to crawl under and time. That way he won't see you when you go through it, and then they can just go up again. But yes, when you're sneaking past enemies, once they've cleared them, you want the player to feel safe and not ever have to worry about something behind them, and just focus what's in front of them for it. Darth, it's not Darth at all. Dis asks, do you use reference? Of course, mate. You need to use reference. I cannot state that enough. Do I have... let me just show you. Where is it? This is it already reference for my warehouse. I grabbed much more images, you can see over here, and then just divided it all up into sections to help me, so I understood that this was the exterior, the kind of look and feel I wanted, interior, understanding the rooms, and then finding the blueprint to help me do my 2D map. So yeah, you shouldn't move on to the block out until you have your references team. I think that's just the best for it. So yeah, take referencing seriously. I cannot recommend it enough for this. How long have we been going for, team? Because I might call it a day now, but you can see the changes. I'm going to now fill this up and start making the path on the side here for it. So yeah, thank you all very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time coming in, asking questions. That's really cool. I appreciate it. I hope you feel that you've learned something from this. So yeah, all take your time, all stay safe. And like I said, if you want to support the show, really support the content that we make, as well as get your own chance to make more levels and join a great community, head over to patreon.com/level design lobby, where you get to go on and move on to many different awesome spaces. Alright everyone, take it easy. I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.